When YouTube's biggest showman challenges boxing's most explosive knockout artist, you know it's not just a fight, it's a collision of two completely different worlds. Jake Paul versus Gervonta Tank Davis isn't just another boxing match on the calendar. It's an event that has fans arguing, legends reacting, and the sports world questioning what the future of boxing even looks like. Half the audience calls it a disgrace, a circus, a money grab. The other half can't look away. It's chaos disguised as competition, and that's exactly what makes it impossible to ignore. For years, Jake Paul has built a career off controversy. Every move he makes feels calculated to provoke. He's not just trying to fight, he's trying to shake the entire boxing system. And this time, his target isn't another retired MMA fighter or influencer. It's Tank Davis, one of the most feared knockout artists in the sport. On paper, it sounds ridiculous. In reality, it might be one of the smartest promotional moves in years. Because love him or hate him, Jake Paul has found the perfect opponent to make the world stop and watch. This fight, though, didn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the product of a growing divide in combat sports. In MMA, fans have always embraced the chaos. They love a freak show, two mismatched fighters, odd pairings, strange weight differences. It's part of the fun. But in boxing, things are sacred. There's an old school pride that says the sport should remain pure, built on discipline and legacy, not spectacle. That's why when this fight was announced, the internet exploded. MMA fans laughed and said, "Looks like boxing's finally joining the circus." Boxing fans called it embarrassing. Yet everyone, no matter what side they were on, secretly knew they'd be watching when the bell rings. And then came Floyd Mayweather. Reports came out that Floyd had stormed the stage at a Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis press conference. Witnesses said he didn't just show up, he made a statement. Floyd warned Jake Paul directly, his tone sharp, his body language tense. For a moment, the spectacle turned serious. You could feel that line between entertainment and reality blur. Mayweather later said that while the Paul brothers were doing things people didn't understand, they were still smart businessmen. He couldn't knock the hustle. But he also hinted at something deeper, that Jake hadn't been truly tested, that facing a fighter like Davis would reveal whether he was really built for this sport or just playing a dangerous game. Jake Paul, of course, responded the only way he knows how, with confidence and taunting. He said he was going to knock Davis out, that Tank's defense was full of holes, and that this would be the fight that proved he wasn't just a YouTuber. It was pure bravado, the same energy that's carried him through every controversy so far. Tank, calm as ever, didn't need to shout back. His silence said more than any words could. But as the trash talk escalated, so did the chaos around them. Fans weren't just arguing, they were choosing sides in what felt like a battle between the old world and the new one. And then things got stranger. Shocker Stevenson suddenly found himself dragged into the conversation. Reports surfaced that he'd sparred with Jake Paul, and fans turned on him immediately. Comment sections filled with anger, calling him a sellout for supporting the event. Shocker brushed it off, saying he wasn't bothered, but you could tell the noise got to him. His calm, dismissive response became its own headline, proof that even boxers not fighting in this event couldn't escape the circus. That's when it became clear this fight wasn't just about Paul and Davis. It was about how much attention and drama boxing could take before it stopped being a sport and became something else entirely. When Terrence Crawford and Devin Haney spoke out, the tension only grew. Both pointed out the obvious. Jake Paul is much bigger. The size difference is massive, and that alone makes this fight risky for Davis. Crawford even said Tank might not be able to hurt Jake, while Jake could drop him with one clean punch. Haney called the fight pointless, saying it blurred the line between boxing and show business. And yet, both admitted they'd still be watching. That's the irony. Every critic who says this fight is ruining the sport is also the same person refreshing the countdown until fight night. But beneath all the noise, there's something deeper happening. For years, Gervonta Davis has been known as one of the most dangerous fighters in boxing. He built his name on power, precision, and pure discipline. Fans admired him not just because he won, but because he represented what real boxing is supposed to look like. That's why so many of his supporters are confused now. This fight doesn't fit his image. It feels like a detour from the legacy he's spent years building. Some think it's about proving a point, others believe it's purely financial. Davis has always said he respects boxing and wants to leave behind something meaningful, but this matchup makes that hard to believe. The comparisons to Mayweather keep coming up. Floyd fought champions in their prime, constantly chasing greatness. Tank, meanwhile, has been accused of picking easier opponents or controlling every condition before agreeing to fight. Fans expected that his next opponent would be Shocker Stevenson or Devin Haney, real legacy fights. Instead, they got Jake Paul, a man who's still learning how to move his feet properly in the ring. To many, it feels like a step backward. But Tank doesn't seem to care about outside opinions anymore. Maybe for him, this is about business. Maybe he's tired of fighting for respect and just wants to cash in on the attention that comes with controversy. And when you look at the numbers, it starts to make sense. This fight isn't just a boxing match, it's a Netflix event. The kind of deal that comes with money most fighters will never see in their careers. Behind the scenes, Tank was reportedly preparing for a rematch with Lamont Roach, a fight that would have made sense for his legacy. But then this opportunity came along, and the payday was too massive to ignore. His trainer, Calvin Ford, even admitted they were already in camp when the Jake Paul fight appeared. They had been training seriously, getting ready for Roach, and suddenly, the whole direction changed. It's hard to blame them. In the current boxing economy, attention equals money, and Jake Paul brings both in ridiculous amounts. Ford, who's been with Davis since his teenage years, doesn't see it as a problem. He believes Tank's speed, timing, and fight IQ can beat anyone, no matter the size. He's trained Tank to handle bigger men before, and he insists that if anyone can make Jake Paul look foolish in a ring, it's his fighter. But Ford also knows the danger of underestimating Jake. He's seen what happens when opponents call him a YouTuber and take him lightly. That's how Jake's built his reputation, catching people off guard who thought it would be easy. Ford says this time, Tank is taking it seriously. He's not treating it like an exhibition. He knows that if Jake even lands something clean, the internet will never let him forget it. Meanwhile, former champion Keith Thurman sees things from a different angle. He says people love to criticize Tank, but still tune into every one of his fights. According to Thurman, this is proof that Davis has something other fighters don't: magnetism. Even when fans claim they're done with him, they still show up. The controversy, the frustration, the arguments, it all fuels the machine. In his words, if you really don't like Tank, don't watch him. But you will. That's the paradox of boxing's biggest stars. The more you hate them, the more money they make. Still, some fans can't shake the feeling that something's been lost. Boxing used to be about proving yourself against the best. Now it's about making the most noise. They look at guys like Naoya Inoue, Alexander Usyk, and Terrence Crawford, fighters who face real challenges, unify divisions, and risk it all. Then they see Tank Davis stepping into the ring with a YouTuber, and it feels wrong. The saddest part, they say, is that Tank doesn't need to do this. He's already talented enough to be one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. But instead, he's chasing the biggest check. And maybe that's just where boxing is headed. The old rules don't apply anymore. Jake Paul isn't ruining boxing, he's changing it. He's forcing fighters to think like entertainers, to build stories around their fights instead of just records. For purists, it's painful to watch. But for the new generation of fans, it's addictive. They don't care about rankings or titles. They care about moments, about drama, about who can break the internet. When you strip away all the talk, all the noise, you're left with something simple. Two men from two different worlds stepping into the same ring to prove something, one fighting for respect, the other fighting to stay relevant. Jake Paul brings the eyes. Tank Davis brings the skill. And together, they've created the most talked about event in boxing this year. As Fight Night approaches, the energy is electric. Nobody can quite predict how it will go. Some say Tank's power will crush Jake within a few rounds. Others think Jake's size and reach could surprise everyone. But one thing's certain, this isn't just a fight. It's a reflection of what boxing has become. Part sport, part spectacle, and completely unpredictable. And maybe that's the real story here. No matter how much people complain, no matter how much they say the sport is falling apart, they'll still watch. They'll still talk. They'll still argue about it for weeks after the final bell. Because deep down, everyone loves a show. And whether you see this as a disgrace or a revolution, you're still tuning in. Because when the entertainer meets the fighter, one thing's for sure, somebody's reputation won't survive the night. Love it or hate it, you'll still be watching.